Welcome to today's workshop on applications to the Global Human Development Program at Georgetown University in the US. Um, Before we talk about the session, I'll just quickly introduce you to Project EduAccess. So, we believe that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege that most people from marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost, information, and dispositional barriers. And we try to improve inclusivity in some of these spaces by removing some of these barriers for students from marginalized communities. We do this by adopting four broad key interventions, um, like mentoring, counseling, and role modeling, information, advice, and guidance, capacity building, leadership skill development, and evidence-based advocacy. Um, we're really glad that we've been able to partner and collaborate with the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University today to organize this session. And we're really glad that we have with us someone from their team who's going to speak to you about the program. So we have with us Soleil, who is the program and events manager for the Global Human Development Program, and that's at the Edmund Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University in the US. Soleil, thank you so much for joining us today. And I do want to also thank Kristen and Mahati for sort of facilitating and helping in organizing the session. I know that all three of them will um, be around for the Q&A as well. So thank you to all of you. And Soleil, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here today. I'm glad that you're all interested in the program, and I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about it. So I'm Soleil. I'm the program and events manager for the Global Human Development Program, which is within the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown. And the School of Foreign Service is the oldest School of International Affairs in the United States, and its graduate programs have been ranked #1 by Foreign Policy magazine for a number of years now. They just did the re-ranking this year, and not only did the School of Foreign Service stay at #1, but actually our undergraduate programs are also now ranked #1. So we're very proud of that achievement, and we want to keep working hard and delivering the best program that we can to our students. So as Misbah mentioned, we have Mahati and Kristen joining us today. So Mahati is a current student in the program. It's her second year in the program. And Kristen is the Associate Director of Academic Programs for GHD. So they'll be helping to answer all of your questions at the end. But I'm going to dive into a couple of important details about the program and try to give you a good idea of what your 2 years in the program could look like. So at a glance, we'll take a look at some numbers. The program is 21 months, so 2 years. There are 4 courses per semester. There are 2 required internships as part of the program. One takes place during the academic year in DC, and one is a summer internship in the summer in between the 2 years in the program. And that internship is abroad. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but there are also 8 specializations and 11 certificates available. So you'll need to do 1 specialization or certificate in order to graduate from the program, but you'll have a lot of different choices. There's also a second language proficiency required to graduate, but all of these numbers really boil down to one diverse, passionate, and tight-knit community that I'm really happy to be a part of. And it's an amazing group of people. So this community might look like taking classes together, maybe attending a talk in the Intercultural Center, which is where a lot of the classes take place, and maybe enjoying Georgetown's beautiful campus, having lunch together, maybe It looks like participating in the ethics retreat, which is an annual event that we hold for the first year students right when they get started in the program, to sort of start building dialogues about ethical dilemmas faced in development and start building some frameworks to address those dilemmas and hear from current faculty and members of the GHD community who have some good advice for our incoming students. Or maybe it looks like participating on the GHD soccer team. So lots of different stuff always going on campus, off campus, all around the GHD community. But whatever the activity, whatever the setting, we always try to keep our core values in mind. So these values are really, really important to us. They're service, inclusion, innovation, and ethics. And we develop these core values with some of our students, and we really try to stay true to them in everything we do, both in and out of the classroom. So speaking of the classroom, what do the GHD classes look like? So this is what the academic schedule looks like for the entire program. So you'll see the first year of the program is in that top row, and the second year is on the bottom. In between is that summer internship that I mentioned. So you'll see that the first semester in the program is all core GHD classes. So the cohort kind of stays together for that first semester. They're taking a lot of their classes together, and then they start to branch out from there and add in some more electives, which is where you'll be going towards those specializations and certificates I mentioned. But you know, we know it's a small program. We can't teach everyone everything they want to know, and so that's why we include these electives, so that you can really tailor the degree to what you're interested in and your specific interests, so that you can come out of the program ready for exactly where you want to go. In the second year of the program, you'll see this management analysis and practice class, and that's the capstone project. So instead of having a final thesis or exam to graduate from the program, we do a capstone project. So you're working on that for most of your second year in the program, and you'll work with a client who has presented a project for you. Sometimes you'll be working with a teammate on this project. And then at the end of your time in the program, you'll do a final presentation of this capstone project to the client and to your class. So the program is also STEM certified, which allows you to stay in the US working for 3 years after you graduate from the program if you're on an F1 visa. And in order to, most of the core classes go fill up that quota of STEM classes, but you will need to take one extra STEM approved course in order to finish off that STEM certification. But one of your electives will probably end up qualifying for that anyway. You don't need to go out of your way to take this STEM approved class. It usually ends up being a part of whatever specialization or certificate you're interested in. There's a whole long list of classes that we have for you to choose from that would fulfill that requirement. So I've been talking a lot about these specializations and certificates, and we can take a look at what those are here. So a specialization is going to be a little bit less time than a certificate. A certificate is closer to an undergraduate minor. It'll show up on your transcript and diploma. It's administered through another department outside of GHD, and it's more credits than a specialization. But the specializations are a little bit more flexible. It just kind of depends on what you're interested in, but either way, these specializations and certificates will allow you to deepen your knowledge of a theme or region. So some students do one, that's all that's required in order to graduate. You can choose either a specialization or a certificate. Some people just are really interested in a couple different topics, and so they end up doing two. But it's up to you, and you'll get to work with an advisor to help you pick what you'd like to focus on. So another place that you'll take classes outside of GHD is in the language courses. So we offer one free language class per semester, and that can be either an intensive class that's 6 credits or a regular 3-credit class. But the language credit goes just for 1 class per semester. And there is a proficiency exam required to graduate from the program. So it's usually equivalent to about 4 years of experience in the language. So we strongly recommend having prior experience in a second language before heading into the program, because it's really hard to get 4 years worth of experience in only 2 years of the program. And so we want you to be able to focus on your GHD classes rather than being worried about those language requirements. But there are lots of different options for languages to take, and the proficiency exam, we offer a lot of flexibility in how you can demonstrate that proficiency. So if it's not a language that's offered by Georgetown, then we usually have a way to for you to be able to demonstrate your proficiency in that language. So all right, and then back to the GHD classes. So we really want to give our students a lot of experience and hands-on learning opportunities while they're still in the program. And we do that in a couple different ways. One really important part of this is having lots of adjunct faculty on our team. So these adjunct professors are currently innovating in the field, and they're able to share real world examples that are really time sensitive and relevant to today's issues. They're able to share that information and knowledge with the students. And they're also really generous with their network. So, for example, in the top left picture there, we have a faculty member who works at the World Bank, and so she's able to bring in interesting guest speakers to her lectures, and so students really appreciate that opportunity to get to know and build their network while they're still in the program. So they're not graduating thinking, okay, now I've got to go reach out to all these people on LinkedIn or whatever. They're already building that network and making those connections while they're in the program, so that when they graduate, they can say, hey, remember me? They already have an in. So that's one really important aspect. 2 other important aspects are the internships. So the DC internship takes place during the academic year. It's usually a semester to a year long, and it'll be either on-site in DC or remote. Then the summer internship is something that we really value in this program. It's the only program in the School of Foreign Service that requires a summer internship, but it'll be an internship at an overseas field site for 10 to 14 weeks. And we really think that this international experience is super important, so you can see the impact of the programs that you've been studying in a different way, and see face-to-face, maybe cultural differences that might be at play, that might be impacting the efficacy of these programs that you've been studying. So I think our students really value these experiences abroad, and a lot of them find the internship over the summer to be really life-changing. So because we find this experience so important, we really want to support it for our students. And so if it's an unpaid internship, we offer a modest living stipend, and we also will provide funding for the travel to and from your internship as well. Your experience in the internship is also supported by the coursework, both before and after, so you'll kind of be able to prepare for it and then kind of break it down and learn some really important stuff after the program. So Then, as I mentioned, the capstone project is another place where we get you some experience, some real world experience, so to speak, while you're in the program. So you'll get to work on a real project, typically with a partner, and it can be you're based on your interest. So we have lots of different organizations we have connections with, submit expressions of interest, and then students can take a look at these projects and see what they're most interested in, and maybe fill out a couple different options so that they can choose which project they'd most like to work on. And then, as I mentioned at the end, you'll present during the capstone showcase. So all of that experience we just think is really important. We emphasize that practitioner focus to our program. So we really try to offer a lot of support through all of these experiences. So you're still not on your own in any way. But all of that is during the program, but I'm sure you're also curious what happens after the program. So we try to include a lot of career exploration and professional development opportunities in the program. So like those internships, like, that experience abroad, the capstone project, you're getting a little taste of different areas within development that you might be interested in working with, or different organizations you might be interested in working for, so that you can try things out and get a feel for it without fully committing. And so you're really supported to get all these tools to approach your work thoughtfully and intentionally, so that your passion for these different areas can be channeled and sort of translated into your career after the program. So we also are supported by the SFS Career Center. So the School of Foreign Service has its own career center, and they're able to offer lots of great events where organizations are coming to share a little bit of application tips, maybe interview tips, just networking opportunities. The Career Center can help you with your resume, and so they're really great and help our students a lot in preparing for the job hunt after the program. And we have some good numbers to show for it that we're really proud of. So for our class of 2023, we're proud to say that they're 100% employed just a couple months after graduating the program. And they work in a variety of different sectors. So a little bit more multilateral than anything else, but also a decent amount of public and private sector work, and some nonprofit work as well. And they're working for employers such as the World Bank, USAID, UNICEF, and foreign policy, like I mentioned before. So they're really ready to hit the ground running by the time they graduate from the program, and they're going on to do some really great work that we're quite proud of. So I'll talk a little bit now about our current students, though. Here's a great photo from our ethics retreat this past fall. We got to go off campus to a retreat center in Maryland and get together and really connect with our community. Students are starting to bond and get to know each other, and they're also starting to tackle some of these ethical dilemmas and think about how they would approach them, and learn from our faculty and our team to build these tools to address the ethical dilemmas that they'll face in development careers. Our current class, the class of 2026, they are only 24 students. We'll max the cohort at 30 students. So they're a little bit smaller, but they're just as passionate and excited as any other cohort. They're a little bit more female than male, pardon me, but they're 50% international students, and they're representing countries from all over the world. So we really value this diverse community at GHD. We think that it's important for our students to learn from each other as much as they're learning from the faculty, from workshops, from all sorts of different angles, but they learn from each other because they're spending so much time together in small seminar style classes. And so we value having students from all over the world to share different experiences and backgrounds. And so they represent a couple of different undergraduate majors as well. And before coming to GHD, they worked as lawyers, doctors, teachers, researchers for organizations such as DAI, the International Organization for Migration, Tetra Tech. So really a wide variety of experience as well. And we think that all of that diverse experiences that these students are bringing really comes together to create such an amazing community. So if you're curious about getting to know the students a little bit more and maybe want to have a conversation with a current student, you can take a look at our website and read the bio pages of our students and maybe just get a feel for what a GHD student is like. There's no one student profile, so be good to poke around a little bit and see who our students are. But if you are interested in having a conversation with a current student, we'd be happy to set that up for you. And you can reach out to us via email to set that up. So if after all of this that you think that GHD might be of interest to you, then we encourage you to apply. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the application process and what the different requirements are. So there's an online application that's administered through the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences at Georgetown. So don't be confused if you thought it was in the School of Foreign Service. It still is, but the application is going to be through the graduate school. In that application, you'll submit a personal statement, which is going to be one of the really key parts of your application. So this personal statement, you'll answer a couple of questions, but basically we want to get a feel for your personality in a way that we can't see just through your resume and your transcript. And we want to get an understanding of where you've been, where you hope to go, and then how GHD can bridge the gap between those 2 points. So, we don't need an exact description of exactly what job title you'll have in 5 years, but a rough idea of where you want to take your career and why GHD is the program that's going to help you accomplish that. So we also want to understand the thought process behind your past career and academic decisions. So we want to see that you've had a commitment to this field, that you're sure this is the right path for you. But overall, we want to see who you are and make sure that you be a good fit for the GHD community, which is so important, like I mentioned. Your test scores they're not required. A GRE or GMAT score is not required, but they can be useful in some situations. So if you have any questions about that, we'd be happy to answer. But not including them does not count against you on your application. So for your transcript, an unofficial transcript is fine for the application. An official transcript is only required upon admission to the program. There are also some prerequisite introductory courses in microeconomics, macroeconomics, and statistics, but it's not required that you have already completed these courses before your application. Again, it's kind of like the transcript. It's only required upon admission to the program. So before you would start classes, you'll need to have completed these 3 introductory courses. And not having completed them is not a factor in the admissions decision. For your letters of recommendation, we like a mix of professional and academic recommenders. And when you're thinking about who you might want to ask to write these letters, consider your depth of relationship with this person and how well they'll be able to convey your level of fit with the program. So it's not about their job title. You don't have to pick somebody with the flashiest title, but it's really about who knows you best and how they can help you tell your story that you want to share with us in your application, and how they can provide insight into different aspects of your professional and academic careers. So there is also a $90 application fee, but if you apply before December 1st, and that goes for any year, that will always be true. So even if you're not sure you're ready to apply for this, a fall 2025 start, there's anytime you apply before December 1st, the application fee will be waived. So we also waive the application fee for a couple different groups of people, and those are listed on our website. But speaking of money, I'm sure you have a few questions about financial aid. So I'll hit on a couple of important monetary matters. So if you submit your application by January 15th, so it's another important date to remember, then you'll be automatically considered for merit-based scholarships. You don't need to include any extra materials or anything. You'll be automatically considered as long as you apply before January 15th. So these merit-based scholarships are typically not the full tuition amount. So we really encourage students to be proactive in seeking out external funding. We have a great link on our website to a lot of external scholarship resources. So these are scholarship programs that are outside the university, but might be based on what country you're from, or what university you went to. So we have a lot of different resources on our website that I encourage you to take a look at for external scholarships that would help cover any difference between any merit scholarships and the full cost of tuition. So it is your responsibility to identify these alternate sources of funding, and we really encourage you to be proactive and start applying for those while you're applying to the program. There are also different fellowships that our students apply for, and then federal or personal loans are another option as well. So hopefully all of that has helped answer some of your questions about the program, but I know this is a big decision and there's a lot of information. So we want to make sure you feel like you're getting all of your questions answered. So we encourage you to connect with us. We are happy to set up one-on-one Zoom calls with you and answer more of your questions if they're a little bit more specific. And we'll also offer a couple more admissions events before the application deadline. And we encourage you to follow us on Instagram to see what activities and events are going on around campus and just get a feel for what the community is like. And if you have any questions, again, we encourage you to reach out via email at ghdinfo@georgetown.edu. But we'd love to meet with you and stay in touch throughout this journey. So thank you all so much for listening to my presentation, and I would be more than happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Soleil. That was really wonderful and comprehensive. I'm sure everyone, found this really helpful. So we now move to the Q&A part of the session. If you have any questions, you can put your questions in chat or raise your hand and ask your questions directly to the speaker. I see we already have two questions in chat, so I'm just going to read the first one out. Does the school offer these introductory courses after admissions, and then how and where is one supposed to complete them?
Good question. So we do offer some recommendations for online courses. They must be through an accredited institution. And so we have a couple different options that we think are really quality online courses if you're not taking them at a university or in a kind of college setting. And so we can share that with you if you'd like. Feel free to reach out over email. I can put the email I mentioned in the chat for that. And then we also just started this fall a series of boot camps for students who hadn't completed the prerequisites in college, and so or they just needed a refresher. I think they were really successful in helping sort of put these topics into the context of how you'll be using them in the program. So maybe you took an economics course that was just a little bit more general, and so these boot camps helped put them in the context of the program. But good question.
Thank you, Soleil. The other question is about the difference between the MIDP and the GHD program at Georgetown.
Yeah, so Georgetown's McCourt School of Public Policy also has a Master of International Development Policy program. And so we really honestly don't cross paths all that much, at least I don't. So I can't speak to their program. I would encourage you to reach out to them if you have any specific questions about their program. But I can just say that, GHD it's a 2-year full-time program. Typically, our students have had a couple years of work experience, so they're able to contribute all of that knowledge and context to the classroom setting and really allow for that learning community. And we have the required summer internship and the capstone project. So lots of different features of our program. Some other development programs have these features, but as far as I know, I think we're the only one that offers all of them in one program.
Okay. Again, if there's more questions, feel free to put them in chat or send it as a DM or raise your hand. There's one question in my DM which says, if I'm applying right after my undergraduate degree without any work experience, does it decrease my chances of acceptance, and how do I make my application stand out? So I guess, and Soleil, and I guess Mahati can also speak to that as someone who's applied from the same context.
Yeah, I think you're always welcome to apply. We really encourage having a couple of years of work experience under your belt to solidify your choice in a career in development. So we want to make sure that our students are 100% committed to a career in development. We don't want them to get partway through and realize, oh, this is not for me. So having a couple of years of experience can help you make sure that this is definitely what you want to do. We don't want you to have any regrets or anything. So that's one of the reasons that we think that experience is really important. If you've had any internships or taken coursework, done projects that are relevant to development, that's going to be really important to highlight in your application, showing that commitment to the field, since you won't have the work experience component to show that experience.
Yeah, I just want to speak a little bit to this as well. In my class, we've got like a whole range of people with everything from, 2 years of experience to like I had close to 6 years of experience when I applied. So I just wanted to mention that because you shouldn't let having a little bit less of experience like put you off. But like Soleil mentioned, it is important to have some exposure to the field so that you know what it's like, and that this program is the right fit for you. So that's the intention behind the experience requirement.
Thank you. Another question in my DM is about a PhD application, generally asking how if I want a career in if I want a career in academia and development, how was this course helping?
So we really are a more practice-based program as opposed to research. We do have a few research opportunities for students. That's kind of on a case-by-case basis, depending on what our faculty are up to. So if that is something that's of interest to you, it's possible that maybe a research assistant role would be an option. It's not a guaranteed position, but and we don't have any joint degrees, so it's just the Master of Global Human Development degree. But there are other programs within the School of Foreign Service that do offer those dual degrees if you are interested in getting a PhD or something.
And I would just add to that that we do have a few JHC students who do end up going the PhD route. It's very small. It's maybe one every 3 or 4 years. So it's certainly not a critical mass of students, but if that's something that's important to you, that definitely can be something that we can set you up for. So you probably would want to take a lot of our quant heavier courses, so some of our methods courses, some of our statistical analysis courses. So there are definitely things that you can do to position yourself well. Obviously, they want to see strong undergraduate and graduate grades as well if you're going into a PhD program. And like Soleil said, you can definitely try to seek out research assistantships across campus to sort of beef up your research skills. But yeah, generally speaking, it is a practitioner-focused program. We're preparing you to rejoin the workforce, but there is a path if that's something that you're really passionate about.
Thank you, both of you. Another question in my DM, I don't know why I'm getting all of these in my DM, is can you elaborate about the 4 years prior experience in second language? What does that mean?
So yeah, that's basically the sort of equivalent of having taken 4 years of college level courses in that language. The sort of what the proficiency exam will look like depends on the language, just because each department at Georgetown has its own sort of quirks and things that are of importance to them. But it's typically oral proficiency in that second language. And we do accept English as a second language that you can prove your proficiency in. Christine, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, one thing you'll learn about universities is that they're extremely decentralized. So to Soleil's point, each language department operates completely autonomously from the others and sort of decides the things that they value. So for example, departments like Spanish and French view cultural proficiency as part of overall language proficiency. So you actually have to take an oral proficiency review class where you study the culture of sub-Saharan Africa, of Spanish-speaking countries, things like that. And you need to be able to sort of dissect an article during your oral proficiency exam. Other departments don't demand the same things. They're just working purely off of language proficiency. So it really does depend on the department, and we can, if you reach out to us and tell us what language you're interested in, we can talk to you a little bit more about, what you could maybe expect from testing in that department.
I just wanted to add a few things. As an international student, I think most of us already will be proficient in a second language because we have our native language and we have English. Basically, the proficiency requirement, it gives you the opportunity to take a foreign language if you want to do that. And you can do that throughout your time at Georgetown. But as an international student, hasn't been something that I have had to worry about because I already have proficiency in more than one language, if that helps.
Thank you, all of you. Another question in the main chat is, can one work as an RA or a TA? And how much how much does it take out the financial burden?
Yeah, good question. We do have both RA and TA positions within the department. TA positions for GHD core classes are going to be something you're eligible for in your second year. So once you've already taken that course, then you can be the TA. So that is a little bit more limiting, and international students have to work on campus their first year of the program. But there are lots of different opportunities for jobs on campus. They are typically no more than 20 hours a week, and usually closer to 10 or 15. And so that is one way that lots of our students do supplement the cost of tuition.
Just to add to that, so we don't do RA or TA positions that sort of give you a tuition credit. I know other universities do that, but that's not something that's done at Georgetown, or at least not at the master's level. And TAs are a little bit different within the GHD context than you might think of in some others. So our TAs don't actually teach courses. They'll do things like organized review sessions. They help with some minimal grading, and they do hold office hours, but they're not actually responsible for teaching. So you do still have quite a bit of work to do in sort of meeting with students who are currently taking the course, but it's not a situation where you would be actually teaching. So just want to put that out there. And there aren't as many RA positions within GHD itself, but there certainly are across the university. And I know that many of our students do take that on as an option, particularly if they are interested in potentially doing a PhD at some point.
Thank you. Another question is in chat. I know Mahati has responded to that. I can still read it out for those who are watching the recording of the session, if that's okay, Mahati. Maybe you can also respond to it. So the question is, if I have done my bachelor's degree in English and I skipped the proficiency test, my second language is not English.
Yeah, so an undergraduate degree, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but an undergraduate degree in a language will count as having proven proficiency in that language. So if you majored.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so in this particular case, if the official language of instruction for your bachelor's degree was English, it would place you out of having to take either the TOEFL or the IELTS exam, which is an admissions requirement. If your primary language of instruction, or if your, primary language that you speak is not English, then you would have to present either the TOEFL or the IELTS upon application. But you would still have to take a proficiency exam, to Mahati's point, at some time during your 2 years in Georgetown if you plan to test in English. If it's your non-native language. It's a very brief test. I would say, Mahati, probably a half hour, maybe if that. It's administered by a member of the English department. It's less rigorous, I would say, than probably some of the others. You're not expected to have a cultural understanding in order to pass the test. So there does have to be like a formal testing process, but it is not stressful when you're doing it in English.
Another question in my chat is about application fee waivers. So is there a possibility of applying for that, and what is the process?
Yeah, so you can reach out to us over email to request an application fee waiver. If you take a look at our website, I believe on the financial aid page and the how to apply page, there should be a list of different groups of people who would qualify. So if you have worked in the Peace Corps, that's an example of one way to qualify for an application fee waiver past that December 1st deadline. So again, if you apply before December 1st, the application fee is automatically waived.
Great. Another question is asking, how important are high grades in your undergraduate degree?
Kristen, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So in general, we have a really holistic application review process. So there's not one element that will either make or break your application. So certainly, in order to do the caliber of work that we expect from you in GHD and at Georgetown, we do want to see a strong track record of a strong undergraduate or other graduate degree performance. But we also understand that there are circumstances that mean that folks maybe don't have a perfect academic record, and that's more than okay. If there are sort of circumstances that led to you having not as good of an academic performance in your previous degrees as you would have liked, please take some space in the application to tell the admissions committee about that, because sometimes having that context is really helpful. If folks were caring for an ailing family member or were working several jobs to put themselves through college, like those are all good things for the admissions committee to know. And I think the more important thing is, are we seeing an upward trajectory in your grades? So maybe you really struggled when you first started in school, and then as you slowly got more comfortable, your grades got better. So those are sort of things that we want to see when we're looking, but we certainly are not expecting everyone to come in having perfect grades, because we know that life happens, and the more important thing is learning how to learn, not learning how to get a good grade, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. I think that was really helpful. Another question in my DM is the course extremely in-depth on microeconomics?
So yeah, go ahead. So no, go ahead.
The program overall is a little bit more quantitative than other programs might be, especially in the first year of the program. But you can sort of, I guess I would say, if you're worried about the quantitative aspect, don't be. Plenty of our students come in without feeling like they have a really strong quantitative basis, and then they end up specializing in quantitative methods and analysis. So it's not a barrier or a hurdle to cross.
Yeah, because having gone through that, and also because I was also concerned about how quantitatively heavy the program might be. I know that not everyone is necessarily interested in the quantitative aspects of the program, and so it can seem like the program is overly quantitative heavy from the outside, but it actually, because GHD's focus is so much on application and practical field work, it really weaves in a lot of the quant parts of the program into actual development work and application, and it kind of combines quantitative with qualitative and field work. And I personally, though I did initially have a little bit of a hard time with some of the quantitative material, there was, I did pick it up, and I do think it is very useful in the field, even as someone who might not specialize in quant.
Thank you, Mahati. That's all of the questions that are in my DM, and I think we've taken all of the questions in chat. Is there any other question that anyone had to ask? Now would be the time to ask them, or otherwise we're almost at the end of our 1 hour, so we can also end. So maybe we'll wait for a few more seconds just in case there are some final pending questions. Do either of you have any questions in your DM? Okay, I think with that we can. Okay. There's always, yeah. Can we
Yeah.
take electives in any other school of Georgetown?
Yes. So we want to make sure that you get a chance to explore all of your interests, and so you are encouraged to take classes outside of GHD, outside of the School of Foreign Service. If there's something that interests you, then yeah, you would be able to do that. And Georgetown's also part of a consortium of schools in the Washington, D.C. area. So if there's a class at George Washington University or American University that you're interested in, then you might be able to take that course as well.
Perfect. I think that's it. With that, we can end the session. Thank you so much, Soleil, Mahati, and Kristen for joining us today and for speaking to everybody about the program and being really so patient with the many questions that came your way, and for giving such a comprehensive presentation. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. I hope you found this session helpful. Just to note that since it is recorded, a recording of the session will be available on our YouTube channel, which I will just send as a link here in chat. So in the next few days, you'll find the recording of this session on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to access it there in case there's anything that you missed. That's about it. Yes, thank you so much, Soleil, Mahati, and Kristen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
you all
everyone.
for-
Thank you, Misbah, for helping set this up, and Mahati for bringing us this idea.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
take
everybody. Have a
care.
great day.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.